Hello, everyone. Welcome to Fresh Spring Cooking. My name is Oleg Kagan, and I'm the Community Engagement Coordinator for LA County Library. I would like to introduce our presenter for today. Hagit Ammer began her culinary studies at George Brown Culinary Management in Toronto and the Integrative Institution of Nutrition in Los Angeles. Since then, she has demonstrated plant-based cooking classes in person and online with her first virtual interactive cookbook of gut-healthy recipes and strategies, and held nutritional speaking engagements with demonstrations at Whole Foods, restaurants, public libraries, community centers, chambers of commerce events, corporate events, and residential kitchens across Los Angeles, California, and now Vancouver and the Sunshine Coast of British Columbia. She helps families and individuals eat right for their gut through adding more plant-based style foods with proper combining strategies for healthy digestion and overall health by reducing inflammation. You can find her on Facebook and Instagram as Eat with Hagit. Don't be shy to add her to your new social media trend. And with that, I'd like to bring to the stage Hagit Ammer. Hagit, the stage is yours.
So I'm so happy that everyone is here, get to join me in my kitchen. Yes, I live in the Sunshine Coast, British Columbia. A lot of a great experience working with plant-based because plants growing, especially in the seasons of spring, is a time that we be able to bring on these wonderful flavors in our plants and connecting. And the connection and energy is what's important, and as well as with our gut, because it's a number one brain. So I'm happy that I get to show you some. I've basically created a huge menu, but I'd like that this is a really simple arna. We're going to be making an Italian arnaci balls, arancini balls. And what it is, it's a type of rice that you would use and you can stuff it, meaning that you can put anything you like inside when you make a ball. It's rice balls. And it's in Italy, when they do that, it's fried. But here we're going to bake, which is a little bit more consciously of creating healthier for you. So you would need a particular rice. I know there's so many rice on the market these days. And so this is a very important rice, which is the riso arborio rice. And that is a type of rice. It spells this way. And that is a wonderful rice that you need to get, because what it does is it thickens. It's like a risotto rice, and you're not going to have a risotto rice with basmati rice or any other type of rice, because you want this type of rice to stick. And risotto or arancini balls comes in a very sticky rice, so we can form it and stuff it. Okay, so I'm gonna start showing you just a really way. I want to show you a really easy way of how to create a flavor for rice. You can do this with any type of rice that you have in hand. But again, today we're going to be working with the arborio rice. And flavoring rice is so important because you don't want it just to be simple white rice. So let's get to my pot right now, and we're going to flavor it up with some sauteed onions and garlic and some wonderful herbs to flavor it up, just to bring it a little bit more of a great notch. So you're in a sauce pan that you have at home. You just turn it on and be able to add some olive oil. Again, if anyone cannot see anything, just please let Oleg know. So about a tablespoon and a half or less of olive oil that you want in your pot. So that way it's wonderful, flavorful oil. I like most to cook with coconut oil, but in this case, because we're flavoring the rice, the olive oil brings out a little bit more of that wonderful flavors on top of everything else. So I'm trying to make this as easier as possible for you to learn and to know. As I have a heated olive oil, I'm going to add some chopped 1 medium onion in here and let that sizzle up. And as we sizzle that up, that's how we flavor the rice. And just like that, you have sauteed onions and olive oil. Takes about a minute to kind of saute it. And then once the flavors of the rice, of the onions get to be sauteed, that's when you caramelize it. That's when the liquid kind of comes out from the onions into the oil to bring out more flavors. Great. Nice and sizzles. About a minute or two before you add the garlic. And the reason why is because the garlic burns quickly and you don't want that. So that's why it's wonderful to water it down first with the onions. And then about a minute or two, you would add the garlic, just like that. Great. I wish that you could smell how heavenly this smells already. But I know that virtually as we are, we can only taste, we can only see and find kind of a taste in the back of our tongue. But I'm sure when you make this at home, it's gonna be so wonderful and worth it. Okay, so here as we have a high heat, on a high heat that I wanted to sizzle my olive oil and my onions and garlic, I'm gonna add about a teaspoon of fresh, of dried oregano, just like that, and some thyme. These are wonderful Italian seasons, that herbs that you get to flavor things up, and a fresh or dried bay leaf. Just add that right in. And sauteing that is what brings out the flavor. This is how we start flavoring rice, by adding the onions and the garlic and the seasonings. Example, if you're creating a curry rice, this is where you would add your curry seasoning at this time. If you're creating Greek rice, this is a time to season. So the seasoning comes right to flavor up the onions and the garlic before you add the rice. And that is when it gets stuck or sticky into the rice. So this is the short grain of the arborio rice. And this is what you call it. It's a short grain, and that's the most stickiest rice. And I washed it. It's about a cup. I washed it and rinsed it. And then I'm just going to add that right in here. Perfecto. And then you want to saute it all together. And it's just amazing before you add any liquids. Now, the best way and the best liquids to add to a rice like the arborio rice in this, or any risotto, is to add the stock. Now, I've tried many different type of stocks in the market, but it doesn't taste the same as homemade stock. So when you are at the market, when the market starts, or I mean, here in British Columbia, things are still cold in Canada, and then it will start having all the harvest in the fall or at the end of August. And that's the best way to, when you're in California, obviously everything is ready all the time, but the best is in season. And then you can actually take all your scrapes or scraps off the grocery store. So you basically freeze all the scraps instead of composting it in a bag, a freezable bag of all your your carrot tops or anything that you peel, which I don't believe in peeling because it's great to have the fiber with things like taste. And say if you have a cauliflower and you want to take out all those scraps and compost it, it's best that you keep everything in a freezing bag and then boil it down to create your own homemade stock. So this is my homemade stock, and look how colorful and wonderful it is. Like even scraps of any parsley, dill, anything that can go in the freezer until you have a full bag of your scraps, and then you can just add it into water with a big pot and then sift it down until you just have the water part, which is a stock. So that's just a little bit of a tip. I can give you that info also at the end of how to create your own scrap to create your own homemade stock. It's so wonderful to make your own homemade stock, because if you read the ingredients of any stocks or broths out there, it usually has canola oil in there, or salt that's high sodium, sugars, or just even dried veggies, dried powder, not even real veggies. So it's wonderful when you know exactly with your own choice of what each ingredient that you're putting into your body. So getting back to this, I'm just warming up my stock just a little bit to be nice and just kind of warm up. But look at the beautiful color when you make it yourself with all different types of scraps of veggies. And then that's when I'm going to add about 2 cups of my stock inside my rice. So here I go, about 2 cups of that. There, of my stock. So 2.5 cups for 1 cup of my rice. And that's about 2 cups right here, and 2.5. And then let that simmer down. Perfect. Wonderful. So as you could see, it's wonderful. In risotto is a different process. In risotto, you would just need to add the stock once the rice has been translucent and be able to absorb the liquids. But in this case, you will just add and simmer it down the lowest heat for about 20 minutes. So I'm going to put the timer on for 20 minutes and it should be ready in no time for this rice to cook and absorb all the wonderful stock liquids. With the seasonings and the bay leaf, everything stays in there, and let that simmer for 20 minutes. And everything is on the timer. Perfect. Okay, so now that we are cooking the rice, let's create a pesto. And this is a type of pesto that I like to stuff it with, a sun-dried tomato pesto. You can do basil pesto. You can do many different types of pestos that you like. In this case, I love the abrodio rice is nice to be stuffed with mozzarella cheese, which I have. And this is a vegan plant-based mozzarella cheese. If you're okay with dairy, then just have a wonderful of your dairy choice mozzarella cheese, and then our sun-dried tomato pesto. So let's create the pesto. You would need a food processor with a small S blade or a large one, depends what you have. And you're just gonna add all the wonderful ingredients into the food processor. So let's do that. Okay, so I would need about sun-dried tomatoes, about 1 cup. And the cup here of these sun-dried tomatoes, make sure that they are in 100% extra virgin or virgin olive oil, because you don't want canola oil sun-dried tomatoes. It's so wonderful to really enjoy the real flavors of sun-dried tomatoes with its oils. So make sure that you have all of that in. Perfect. And then we're going to add some garlic in here. And that's wonderful. Can't have pesto without garlic. Also, you can add some onion. I'm using like half a small onion or 1 small, depends, just eye on it. So I'm just going to add that in. Or you can use shallots, which is sweeter if you like. Shallots comes from the red onion family, and it's much younger and sweeter. Okay. And a wonderful parsley that we're going to do, a fresh parsley that I've done about 3/4 of a cup, pre-measured it, everything like that. And some sea salt, which I like to cook with and to use just to kind of season, about 1/4 to 1/2 teaspoon. Some freshly ground pepper that I pre-grinded before the class, just like that. And the secret of all this is the olive oil, and about 1/2 cup of olive oil. Now, I'm not really measuring the olive oil. I'm going to do this as I go. Okay. And you can add more as you go, meaning when you process it, you'll know what you would need. I think that should be it. Let's just add a little bit more and get that sticked out. Okay, into my food processor. it will go right now, as you could see in here. Okay, and all right, it's being processed at the moment. In the meantime, when you do this, you want it to be thick, meaning that you have like a spoon that can actually be not so liquidy, but be thicker pesto on your spoon that you can work with. If it's too liquidy, then you need to add more of your parsley or sun-dried tomatoes, whatever makes it to be thicker. If it's too thin, then you add a little bit more of the olive oil. So you work with what you see and also what you taste. Okay. So in the food processor it goes. Just kind of look at it and see how it looks. Okay, wonderful. There you go. And we're gonna just have a little taste and see the thickness, which is pretty much pretty good. Not too thick, not too thin. And that's the kind of texture that you need. And again, if it comes, also another trick is if it's too thick, you can refrigerate it, and then the olive oil will be able to kind of settle it down once it cools down. But it's not too bad. It's totally workable. And let's just have a little taste as you go. Perfect. That it's not too salty or too peppery, which is perfectly right now. Okay, and then we're just going to add that into a bowl. Beautiful sun-dried tomatoes. Pesto. Lovely. Now, this is a type of pesto that you're probably going to have. Let's make sure that you are seeing this perfectly. This is the type of pesto of sun-dried tomatoes that you could have extra of, and then you could add that into your pasta dishes or rice dishes, whatever you like. Oh. Perfect. Okay, so there you go. The wonderful sun-dried tomato pesto looks delicious, and it's a beautiful marinade that we can work with. Fantastic. Let's look at how the rice is going. It's only been 13 minutes, so it's really good to continue kind of just mix it well for it to all absorb on a very low heat, and that way it will simmer itself down and thicken as it goes. So in the meantime, we're gonna, I've oiled my pan here, and the pan that I've oiled is with coconut oil. So and then that's what's set on the side. I've also created my rice previously, and I cooled it down so it can be workable. And this is what it looks like. And this is a type of rice is great to work with because it's sticky. This is why this risotto kind of rice, the abriolo rice is in a way that you can form a ball. So you would need to, it would be great to work with this and also have water on the side so you can work with just like that. So you can dip your hands with if you need to, because, and then have a towel on the side because it gets pretty messy. But the best part about it is it's really fun to create the balls and get your hands all wet and sticky. But then that's why you have the water to work with instead of always going to the sink. Okay, so let's create a station. It's really important to create a station of what you're going to be dipping with. Okay, so in the station is we have the cooled rice, making sure that it's cool, that you're not burning your hands. You have your water to work with. Okay, you have your pesto to work with. You have nutritional yeast, and about 2 tablespoons of nutritional yeast. It's another kind of variation alternative to cheese. which is wonderful to Parmesan on anything, and it smells like cheese. So it's really easy to get this at any supermarket these days. It's very popular. Nutritional yeast. And then we're going to add about 1 cup of milk, because we need to stick our rice into milk. So about 1 cup I'm going to add in here. That's been pre-measured. Fabulous. And then you have your panko to work with as well. And panko is a type of coating that makes everything crunchy. So we're gonna add that panko in this big bowl right here. Okay, so there's my station. Again, this is going to be really fun. It's gonna be my sun-dried tomatoes on the side, my mozzarella, my nutritional yeast that I'm going to add into my panko. And the reason I'm adding my nutritional yeast to my panko is because I want my panko to be cheesy, tasty on the coating. And kind of with your hand, when you are putting it together, they're both combined. I got my milk to wet for wetting, and then my panko for drying. And of course, my rice to add and create a nice ball. Let's just look at my rice over here, how it's making it, because this is how it's going to happen when you're at home, that your rice will be thickened as you do this. Okay, great. On a very, very low heat, that's what we do. Okay. Oh, sorry, guys. Okay, wonderful. So let that continue simmer, but in the meantime, let's work through this. So here is your rice, and then you make like a little, kind of make it like a nice, want to make a nice ball, but in the middle, you want to stuff it, right? And then we're going to stuff it a little bit with sun-dried tomato. I'm going to switch it to this way. I'm going to stuff it with a little bit of sun-dried tomato and a little bit of the mozzarella. Now if it looks too technical, really it becomes easily as you get used to this. You can top it up a little bit with sun-dried tomato and add, and just like that, have like a hand way of all of this to be stuffed. And then you're adding the rice on top of it to cover it up, and then making your ball just like that. Making sure that everything is covered. Just like that. Perfect. Now that is a big, beautiful ball, and that's what you want. Everything is stuffed right inside, and you can stuff it with many different things, like whatever, many different stuffings. Like you can do lentils, you can do different type of cheeses, again, different pestos, whatever you're thinking to create is a wonderful way to stuff it. Instead of having it on the rice, you have it inside the rice ball, which is fabulous. And there you go. This is the ball of how it looks like. So on my pan that I have already oiled, I'm just going to add that in and then create more balls. Let me show you more. We're going to do here at least 4 or 5. And then that way, until all of the rice in your home, until you get to use all of your rice. So open a little bit of a flare of the rice in your hand. Add some pesto, some of your sun-dried tomatoes. Now, what I like about this is that it's 100% gluten-free, which is fabulous. That for spring cleaning, it's nice not to have too much of heaviness food. So this is a wonderful way that you can create for appetizers. And then I'm taking, I'm taking another hand of rice here and adding it on top, and then squishing everything inside, and then forming it like a ball. And then add more rice. As you see the mozzarella, then add more of the rice around just like that. Perfect. Okay. And if it sticks out just a little bit out, that's okay. That's just how it's meant to be. We can't control everything. We can only make the best that we can do. So again, the rice, opening it faced in, just like that. Adding maybe this time the mozzarella first, and then the sun-dried tomato pesto. Perfect. Coming back here, adding it more. So this will be, if you make balls like this big, it could be up to 6 or 7. But if you do it smaller, you can create up to 10 to 12. It really depends of how big of your filling that you want. And that's why I like to work with this rice, because it is a sticky rice because of the being it short grain. And it's really easy to find this at a regular supermarket, any supermarket these days. There's many types of rice. So you can do that. Okay. Now let's do the fun part of the dipping. I'm just gonna wash my hands. Great. Now that my hands are washed, I'm going to put this on the side, and we're going to have the best part of the dipping part. So on a pan that has been oiled with coconut oil, that has been already formed into 3 balls. We did 3 balls. Then all we do is now dip it into the milk. You know, you can do milk or water, just kind of easily dip. And then in the panko, it goes. Just like that. So then that way it's crunchy. It's the panko and the nutritional yeast. Perfect. And then right away onto the pan, it forms. Just like that. Let's do it again. I'm taking my ball. Okay, into the milk first. I have a small area to work with. Into the milk it goes. Okay. And then right into the panko. If you find that the ball opens up, then it's always good just to kind of continue covering it and pressly firming it. And this is a very gentle way of making this ball. Again, it's opening up, and that's okay. That's good. We're showing you the mistakes here so you know what to do when you're at home. And then just covering it up and then baking it and then putting it on the baking sheet. Okay, one more we'll do, and then we'll call it a day. We'll bake that in until it becomes nice and crispy. And that's right into the milk. And again, I'm going to, now I don't know if anybody has made these before, but you can flavor different ways, like I said, but it's pretty cool to have a big, huge ball on your plate of rice with stuffing in it, which is fabulous. And then in it goes. Beautiful. That's a big, wonderful honka tonka rice arancini balls. There we go. And we're gonna bake it in for about 10 minutes on each side, and then you can flip it until it's all brown, all the sides sides are brown and nicely. So in this case, I could probably take some questions if anybody has. Let that bake at about 375 degrees Fahrenheit, and about 10 minutes I will check in, and we could do some a little bit of Q&A here if anyone would like to do that. And while that's being baked, but before we do that, I can even show you a little bit more of that rice, of how it will be ready in your home. So let's look at that. And it's been basically soaked in all the liquids. So all the liquids has been absorbed inside the rice. And then that's when, and that's right on the time, 58 seconds in, and then we're done. But I'm turning this off because it looks like it's all done. So that's about 20 minutes on the timer, and then and your rice is ready, and just let that cool when you work with it to make those balls. Yes. Okay. So we could do some Q&A just right now because the rice balls are being baked, and then we can see after the Q&A how they look.
Sounds good. Yeah, we definitely have questions. So the first question is, where would you place this in a meal? Is this an appetizer, a main meal, or side dish? How many
that's a great
people does
question.
it serve, this recipe?
Yeah, so this recipe is wonderful appetizers, like a nice light meal. Obviously, you get really big filling from the rice itself. So you can even create that as a main meal. But an appetizer is wonderful because you can share this by cutting in 4 pieces of a big ball, or one for yourself. And you can even have different dips that you can dip these arancini balls into. Or nice with marinara sauce. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, so we have a lot of questions about rice. So I'm gonna let's roll down the rice questions. Sure. So can you use a glutinous rice for this instead of the arborio?
Sorry, gluten?
Glutinous rice. So maybe a different kind of sticky rice?
Oh, no. So the only way that you can do this is only with this type of rice. The arborio, which is the sticky rice. Anything that's really short grain rice, in this case, has starch. And because of it being starchy, that's when it gets all sticky. So if you're using brown rice, obviously there's more fiber in there, less starch, because the fiber takes over, and then it won't be so sticky.
Okay, somebody mentioned Calrose. I'm not sure what I think it's a brand, that might be a brand name, or it's a type of rice. Are you familiar with Calrose?
I'm not familiar with that. If it's a very short rice, if it's a short grain rice, thick and it's short and it's like luscious, meaning a little fat, then it's meaning that it's just has much more of a filling of the starch. So you just want to have whatever rice it is. If it's Colors is a brand name. Yep. I'm not sure then what kind of rice. It's probably should be it's an Asian sticky rice, and the Asian sticky rice is a short grain rice. So yes, that can be used because it's a very short grain rice.
So I'm looking there. Calrose is actually also, it is a brand name, but it's also actually a type of rice. At least according to Wikipedia, it's a medium grain rice.
Okay. So anything that's anything that's medium short, like you want it to be really white, really white, kind of like this. And if
I think it looks, I think it does look, because I have Calrose rice at home, so I think it does look, it does look like that.
Then that's perfect, because it's a starchy type of rice. You want it to be starchy. It's not going to work best with basmati, because basmati is a long grain, and it's much more it doesn't have as much a starch as a short grain or medium grain.
And so this rice is available at online or at grocery stores. Is it pretty easy to find?
Easy to find. I found this just at a regular supermarket. That's not even natural store. So anywhere would have this rice. Okay. Yeah. And the reason I'm showing you what you can do, why I chose this, what it's a great recipe to do, is because this is a wonderful alternative of creating a rice dish instead of just having rice on your table. And it's so great to stuff it. So, and because of its stickiness. Yeah. I'm just
And
gonna
then,
flip it.
yeah,
Well, if you can give me some more other questions, that'd be great.
sure. Yep. How often should you stir the rice when you're making? Because I know you stir it a few times.
Just a few times, like if it's 20 minutes if it takes about 20 minutes to really soak in and for it to be really for the water to be absorbed, and about every 5 minutes, just kind of stir it so that way the liquid doesn't get sticky at the bottom of the pan. So you want to stir it every 5 minutes.
Okay, sounds
So
good.
4 times.
Perfect. So moving away from rice, we had a question here. I've been told not to use olive oil because when you heat it, it turns into trans fat. I'm wondering what your feelings are about using avocado oil or other high heat oils instead.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's wonderful. Great question. I don't really cook with olive oil or any other than coconut oil, because the coconut oil, you can do it up to 500 degrees Fahrenheit. Avocado is also a high heat. It's actually, no, a coconut oil is about 350, 400. The avocado is the highest heat, and it's also refined. So anything, what I like about coconut oil is that it's a fruit, and so it melts off from the from triglycerides. It melts off, and then it absorbs back when it cools off, like the actual oil before it's not melted. You can melt it or it hardens because it's from a fruit, and coconut oil is very beneficial for cooking and to even absorbing in your body. So anything like olive oil is about 400. I'm not sure 100% in my brain, but I know it's about 350 to 400 degrees that you can cook with, but it loses the antioxidants and it loses its benefits that olive oil has from the olives when it's heated. So the best is to use coconut oil, but in this case, because we're flavoring the rice, the coconut oil doesn't really flavor, it just soaks it all in. So olive oil is much easier to use because they're refined anyways. Any oils you use, even avocado oil, it's refined. So might as well, I just used it just to flavor it, but you can use totally coconut oil, my number one oil to use for any cooking. Yeah, I do have other classes that I've pre-recorded if anyone is interested about high saturated fats or high fats that we can cook with or not cook with, and depends on their smoke point when you're using it.
We can send those in the follow-up email.
Yeah,
After,
that's
so
just
people
another
want
type of
access,
topic
they can have access to that.
Yeah, there's so many questions about all that.
Yeah, it's a big topic. I mean, people are wondering
Huge.
about that. So moving on to, I think this question is about stock, but I'm not totally sure. It was posted earlier in the recipe when you were talking about the stock. Do you have to shred the food scraps, or does boiling water break it down?
Yeah, just it's I basically just use any like I'll show you 1 second. Let me show you. So here in my freezer, I have like a bag, and this is where I keep everything. I mean, it just can go overflowing of many different bags in the freezer that I have, even scraps from celery, cilantro, broccoli stems, all the skins of onions and garlic.
Ooh, yeah.
Everything is frozen. Anything that I feel like I want to throw out instead of composting, obviously not everything, like you don't want to put mint in here or just basically hearty vegetables. I won't put squash in here either because when it does a different taste to stocks when you cook it. But like scraps like garlic and their skin and the onions and broccoli, all those major vegetables or cauliflower and herbs, I just kind of collect it through time and put it in a bag and freeze it in the freezer for like 2 months. You'll have so much. And then all you just do this is you dump it into a pot, a huge pot, a soup pot, and then just cover it until it's fully covered with water, and then let it boil and simmer. So say about 45 minutes to an hour, simmering it on low. All the flavors will come out with the water, and then you take out the scraps with your colander out. Right? You take out all the scraps out. You can transfer the water, the stock into another bowl, and then you keep the broth in your freezer in recycled containers. And then you have so many that you can use. Like I'm just always using my only vegetable broth. And it makes such a big difference when it's homemade, because it's not so strong, or it doesn't have all those relatively ingredients that you don't know in those broth that's on the shelves in the stores. So yeah, I definitely recommend to create your own broth from scratch. Your
Sounds
stock
good.
from
Yes.
scratch.
Somebody asked, do you have a recipe for the veggie stock? And I think you just mentioned it. You basically take all the stuff that's frozen, you put it into the
Yeah,
pot, 45 minutes, then it's filtered out, and that's it.
that's it. That's it. That's it. That's just so easy. And then you have it in your freezer, and it'll last 6 months to a year.
Wow.
You'll always have it, and you never have to count on having any stocks off the shelves in the market again. The flavors will just be amazing, because you know how many stocks you can be able to add into any of your soups and
sure.
in rice dishes and curries and so forth.
So another stock question for this
Yes.
specific to this recipe. Can you use chicken stock instead of the veggie stock that you made?
Oh yes, you can use any stock you like. Definitely. And the reason this is 100% plant-based, I make sure when I eat plant-based, you know, you can eat all different types of food like this. What was my question was, what was I?
The chicken stock.
Right, chicken stock. I made my veggie broth, but chicken stocks works as well. Any flavorful stock works amazing. Even bone broth will be great too. But you want to have your bone broth. You want to enjoy your bone broth as itself, because of the minerals and so forth that it gives you for your gut.
Sounds good. And then for the cheese, so you mentioned that this is a plant-based mozzarella cheese. What brand of cheese do you like the best?
You know, the one that's you know, 100. You know, this is my cheat day, so I don't really eat this way all the time with mozzarella. But anything that's made with coconut base, not so many ingredients in the package, is great. I was going to do my own cashew ricotta, but I thought I didn't want to make it too technical for everyone of creating all these different steps. I want people to make this with more gooey. So just if you want to use mozzarella cheese, is great. Goat cheese is my number one if you eat dairy, because obviously it's a healthier digestion with the same DNA as human beings with goat, and as opposed to cow's milk cheese. But in this case, I'm using coconut base. It has coconut milk in it and some other ingredients to create a vegan mozzarella. So today I would call this my cheat day, meaning that it's my processed ingredients day that I use for plant-based, like a pizza.
Yeah. Question here. I was under the impression that tomatoes were inflammatory to joint pain or people with arthritis. Is it different if they're sun-dried tomatoes?
No, it would be this. Sun-dried tomatoes just means that it's dried from tomatoes. It's still tomatoes. So then you would just make a pesto. Use herbs instead of tomatoes. You can do that. And that's why there's different type of pestos that you can use instead. Yeah.
And so for you to preparing those tomatoes, sun-dried tomatoes, did you just dehydrate them, or how did you prepare them?
No, those are just bought in the store out of glass in a glass container. And they're made with olive oil. And they're just basically sun-dried tomatoes and olive oil.
Okay. Sounds good. Would the pesto work okay if you made it in a smoothie blender, or does you have to, if you don't have a food processor?
Yeah, if you don't have a food processor, like I love Magic Bullet. It's one of those little containers of a blender, but you can definitely think you can do it in a juicing blender. It won't be so bad. And then you can even add some pine nuts if you like, or almonds if you want, or walnuts. I love making walnut cashew pesto. Sorry, not cashew,
great.
walnut pesto. So then you can have different types of stuffings inside those rice. And that's what all comes from your own imagination and creativity of what you want to stuff your rice with.
I like that idea. You can improvise.
Yeah.
Whatever you have
so
around.
many different ways. Yeah.
What is the temperature you set in the oven for the rice balls?
About 375
Isn't it?
degrees.
Okay, sounds good.
Just for it to be like, this is a type of recipe that you fry it, but I'm not frying it, I'm baking it. So it just gives a different idea of how to bake it at a high temperature so that it is baked at the same time, creates that crispiness. It's not going to be like it's fried, obviously, but to make it like baked.
So here's a bigger question that I don't know if you have time to answer this one in full today, but can you explain the difference between sea salt and Himalayan salt and when to use each for cooking or for sprinkling for flavor?
Yeah,
that's quite a question.
That's a great question. Well, obviously the Himalayan salt, is pink salt, is from the Himalayas in India, Pakistan, the Himalayan mountains, right? It's been grinded to create, and it has wonderful minerals from the mountains, and that's why it's pink. The sea salt is from the sea. And there are two different kinds of salts. One is a little bit more, the sea salt is a little bit more saltier, that you can really taste it. The Himalayan is less potent, so it's much easier, lighter. So that's a great question. So when I make a salad dressing, I use my Himalayan salt. It's not too potent. But when I create things like rice, or anything like big dishes, main dishes, even soups or curries, I like to use my sea salts, because then it's more potent, that I can really taste that it's a little saltier instead of adding too much Himalayan all the time. So the best way to add salt is at the end of cooking, because then you can still, you're not heating up the minerals. So when I'm making this, in this case, obviously today's like a day that I'm just showing you an example of how to make the rice, and I seasoned it when I cooked or translucened the onions in the rice, because so it's a little saltier. But in this case, at the end, when you're cooling it down, that's when you can add your sea salt or your Himalayan salt, depends what you want to use. They're both great. They both have minerals in there, and two different types of energies, one from the mountain and one from the sea. Then you can just stir it at the end of cooking, and it'll do the trick just as it would do in the cooking, but you'll have those extra potent minerals without heating it.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
And then another kind of substitution question. Well, I'm going to combine two questions in one. Number one is what kind of milk are you using? And the other question is, can you substitute other kinds of milk?
Yeah, this time I just use oat milk, unsweetened. Make sure it's unsweetened plant milk if you're using plant milk, which is great. I mean, I don't need to use any cow milk. I always now start drinking more oat milk than nut milks, because the way that the nut milks are made these days, I want to be more consciously to our planet. That oat milk is much easier to grow and not as much watering as a nut milk. So we buy now oat milk, and it tastes the same. It's actually even thicker than a nut milk, but you can totally use any milk you like. So I've used oat milk, unsweetened oat milk. And now in the stores, you can buy nut milks or oat milk easily with 4 ingredients. So not so many ingredients. So always read the ingredients in every package that you buy at the store to know what you're putting in your body. So in this case, it only has the oat, the water, the sea salt, and still a preservative of something to thicken it, to keep it in the shelf for a long time. But if you make it at home, it's just so quickly as well by adding water or oats, and you blend it in the blender, and it creates that milk. Same thing with nut milks or anything. If we're in the milk topics, my favorite milk to use and enjoy is hemp milk. It's really easy. All you do is like 2 tablespoons of hemp and 2 cups of water, and then it creates a hemp milk. You're getting protein, you're getting wonderful benefits from the hemp, and you don't have to squeeze out the liquids or anything. It just does it for you with the water and blender. Hemp milk. So that's another way of cooking. So or making smoothies or whatever you like of milks. So try that out. I definitely recommend that, trying if you haven't done so.
Sounds good. And then another sort of substitution kind of question. Would you please tell me what I can replace yeast with for this recipe? I'm allergic to yeast.
Oh yeah, no, that's okay. Nutritional
yeast.
Yeah, nutritional yeast doesn't mean it's yeast. It's just called yeast. It's so funny. Why would they call nutritional yeast. Come on, people. It's actually made from like molasses, grinded up, dried into like, you know, I'm not sure. You can research it. I've had to create nutritional yeast, but it's not with yeast. It's just called that way. So if you don't want to use anything with even the name yeast, then just omit that and just add more herbs into your flavoring, or you know, or have like a raw. If you eat cheese, then you can have raw Parmigiano Reggiano cheese into your bread, in your panko breadcrumbs, and eating instead of nutritional yeast. But yeah, nutritional yeast is not yeast; it's just called that way.
Sounds good. And then let's see. So we got the yeast, and then what do you recommend as a gluten-free alternative for a panko?
Oh yeah. So you know what? Okay. So I'm basically, I focus on nutrition with gut health, meaning food combining. And the reason I use panko today is because what another alternative that you can use is almond meal. So you can try that. So almond meal, almond flour will be the same kind of way. I haven't tried it yet to make it with almond meal, but you can, because it's still white and it's still kind of gives that crunchiness when you bake it, or even put it in the air fryer as well as baking, which is air frying type of way of heating through the, you know, there's a different ways of, now everything is coming up to different technical ways of making baking as frying. But you can use almond meal. So food combining in my strategies, rice doesn't really combine well with almonds, but if it's your cheat day, like mine today, then have it all, you know, if it's okay. But technically it's always good to have moderation of what food combines with what for your gut health. But panko, think of anything like this is when imagination, creativity comes in. Like, what is like panko? If you feel like panko is like alternative, like it's, you know, it's a type of like a rice or fried, you know, I'm not even sure 100% what is panko, but you can totally use breadcrumbs as well, gluten-free breadcrumbs, or you know what, gluten-free is also has a lot of glue in it. That's what makes it sticky. So it's not really gluten-free when you eat it in the gut. It is on the package, but not internally because of all the starches, potato starch, tapioca starch, this starch. So you can just do sourdough. Sourdough is the best, right? We know that because it has cultures and can digest properly. So sourdough breadcrumbs, there you go. That's it. Sourdough breadcrumbs, I would use that over anything. But I didn't have
that sounds
anything
great.
even better. But to me, I want to make it easier for you. Buy panko if you want panko, or sourdough breadcrumbs, and season that, and then grind it. Right, grind it in the food processor, make it like a crumb, and then roll that around as your cheat day.
Another nutritional yeast question: Can Parmesan cheese be used as a substitute for the nutritional yeast?
Yes. So you can, and then Parmesan cheese is, you just I wanted a cheesy flavor, so you can definitely use Parmesan cheese, and it is raw milk, I believe, too. It's better than processed, refined, and heated. Yeah.
We also got a suggestion in the chat, or in the Q&A, that Kikoman makes a gluten-free panko made of rice flour and pea protein.
Oh, there. Perfect. Yeah, that's another great one. I think that's the one I have. The one that I use is kinikinik. And that's pea starch, water, tapioca starch, white rice flour, pea protein, canola oil, you know, sugars, and all these different types of preservatives.
And can you show us the package?
Yes. Here it is. Is this in French or is this in English? Here we go. We have French here in Canada, the other side. So this is the English part. It's something like this. This is a gluten-free one. Kinikinik.
Yeah, good name.
Is that the one that you were just mentioning?
No, the other one was Kikoman. They're well known for making soy sauce.
Oh, okay. So they're using pea protein as well with rice flour. It is rice flour, I knew it, and some waters and sugars and canola oil makes it that panko kind of like feel. But yeah, you know, this is not 100% of what I would eat all the time. I just made it because it's easy and what people like eating rice for gluten-free. So why not stuff it instead of always
Yep.
adding to it?
Yeah, I think it might be time to check on your recipe. And then we have more questions. Maybe we can answer them later.
Sure. Let's see how these rice balls go, and I'm going to show you what it looks like. Okay, perfect. So let's go over here. I have a little toaster oven. You know, they will open up. It's not 100%. Look, it's not 100%, but it is a way that you can even, you're gonna make it nicer than that. But again, you can always try to, my first ball that I made for you guys is actually the best one. But the second one is actually opening up, which is okay. But they're still workable and they're still flavorful, which is fantastic. So I'm gonna plate this. I'm gonna show you how to plate it. Okay, so here I have, okay, there we go. So here I have my plate. So if this is you at home, I'm going to, I just basically warmed up my own marinara sauce that I love. Okay, let me show you how. So if you do also buy marinara sauce or any tomato sauce at the store, make sure of how much sugar it has. You know, when it comes to seasons, the tomato season, you can definitely also freeze tomatoes so you can make them in sauces. I'm going to pick this one. And you see how the panko does crispy it on the top. I don't think the rice will look more like that if I didn't add the panko. So just like that, you would add that on. Can everybody see that? Okay, perfect. And that's it. That's how you would enjoy it. You can enjoy one or two of it. And let me show you another one that I've made here. There we go. Just kind of adding it to your plate. And it looks like this could be definitely a meal that you can enjoy. You can definitely enjoy this as your main meal or as an appetizer by slicing it. So let's look of how wonderful this rice is. And there you go. You have it right here by seeing the sun-dried tomatoes and the mozzarella that's melted inside with the marinara sauce. And there you go. So let's try that and see. You know, I used to make this back in the day with meat when I used to eat meat, but today I made it with sun-dried tomatoes and mozzarella to see that it could be just as good in eating plant-based. Fantastic. Yeah. Oh, it's really wonderful with the sun-dried tomato pesto and the mozzarella. It makes it very gooey and melting inside of it. So it's a very comforting kind of food that you can enjoy during the springtime, because you know it's all about eating healthy and light. It's all about eating light and herbs. I love eating a lot of herbs in the springtime because or in the summertime, it just brings out that fresh food. So if you want to learn more about that, you're more than welcome to follow me and send me a message and see where I can show you more wonderful freshness. Yeah, so I hope you enjoy this at home as much as I am. I mean, this is just beautiful. What does everybody think? Fantastic.
Hagit, that looks really good.
Thank you.
This is wonderful. A virtual program, and I'm only too sad that we can't all be sampling it with you. I saw the steam rise when you opened up the rice ball, and I thought, oh,
I wish you could taste it too. I really do, and it's a really beautiful. But it's so easy to make, as you could see. It doesn't take much. It's all about. I always believe in preparation, mise en place, which is organizing yourself before you're eating, with chopping, pre-chopping, and getting things your station ready. So the chopping takes beautiful when you put on nice music in the background and you salsa or your samba to your rhythm, and a rhythm starts to happen that you're not even noticing that you just did all the chopping. And then the best part is after you did the chopping comes the mixing and the sauteing and then the shaping. So we get overwhelmed when we're making food at home because we feel like there's so many steps. But as soon as you have fun by putting nice music and chopping, then that part is done. And the rest is just the creativity of everything. And you can really taste the difference between eating out or eating on the go than eating at home from your own health, your own heart, because it's a connection that brings you closer to your food. And then, yeah, you're not counting on, my thing is you're not counting on eating out because you just know that you can just do this in your own home. Anything you want.
I just love the smells when you're cooking, and I can only imagine what your kitchen smells like right now. But when you're cooking, you start getting the garlic and all the smells, and it just prepares you because it makes you more excited
Yeah,
about when you actually have everything on the plate.
exactly. And that's done. It's just done. All the chopping and and the sauteing. Exactly. You just put it together, and the smell just takes over you and in the kitchen. It really does. But definitely, but always look, I definitely recommend when you do look at ingredients, read the labeling really to see what you're putting in your body or what you're cooking with. So that way, just because it says 100% fiber and protein in the front of the box, they'll give you these muscles and this, it really isn't if the ingredients has a lot sugar, salt, and refined oils.
So, Hagit, we have more questions if you're okay with
Yeah,
answering more.
I am.
I don't
This
know, you
is
can
my
prevent
passion.
yourself from eating. I don't, we're holding you back from
Oh,
enjoying.
this is best. Thank you.
Let's
Yeah,
let's do some questions. So,
sure.
can this be prepared beforehand and then baked a day or two later?
Yes, of course. You can definitely do that. Just cover it in the refrigerator. This is also great when you freeze it. So this is a type of meal that you can just kind of put it in a Tupperware. And if you freeze it, then you just defrost it. And if it does, if you need to reshape it into a ball, then you can definitely do that easily once it's defrosted. And then just add your marinara sauce or it doesn't have to have a sauce, but it's easy. You can put it in the refrigerator 3 days, maximum 3 days. You don't want more than that. And in the freezer, it could last up to 5-6 months.
Sounds great. And can
Mhm.
it be made in a stove only instead of an oven? Is there a way to make it on the stove?
Yeah, you can sizzle it, really making sure that your shape is really formed well and tight. And sizzle it is fine. Just to add that extra coconut oil if you like, and season it on every single side, but not playing with it too much. Only flip it once or twice because you don't want the form to unfold.
Can you use an air fryer rather than baking?
Yes, you can. I mean, that's the
Air
new thing,
fryers,
right?
they seem to be for everything.
Oh, everybody, we all love fried food. Now, what's not great about fried food? It's crunchy, it's hot, and it's oily. And we do get that we wanted to eat that. It's from those fries that we were when we were kids. But now the new solution of this technology is the air fryer. So it's healthier, I imagine. So you can definitely air fry it. And I'm sure it's going to be the same kind of taste or way, texture wise, as if you're regular frying it.
And then we have
Healthier
this
way.
question, actually towards the beginning of the program. Do you have a book, and what is the name of your book?
Oh yeah, so I just created my first virtual interactive cookbook online, sent to you email or on Facebook. You're invited to a private group. And it's basically 22 days of gut healthy recipes, all about sauces, dressing, marinades, alternative to food that you're used to eating, packaged foods, and how to create something less than 10 minutes. There's also sauerkraut. I believe in fermentation probiotics because obviously it helps the gut to heal and provides more healthy digestion. So anything with healthy digestion with the food combining is all in that 22 days of gut healthy, even sauerkraut, because it's important to know how to make it. I mean, you'll see how simple it is. And then when you have it, you have it. You're not counting on eating on somebody else's food, on manufactured food. you're counting on yourself, and you'll see how easy it is. This virtual cookbook also has my 22 days, the recipes that you can print out PDF, and also videos of me demonstrating in my kitchen of every single recipe. So it's easy for you to rewind and to look again.
Looking at all the comments, and people are like, "This looks great. I want to try one." And I gotta say, I mean, of course, I agree. And I have a 3-year-old, so I'm gonna make little ones for my 3-year-old.
Amazing. Yeah, the kids love this. And we do food here on the coast. We do baked falafels, sprouted falafels wrapped in greens, because we believe that eating anything that's like a protein, it's always great to alkaline, water it down. So for digestion, not to feel bloated and fermented inside the gut. It's a different type of fermentation. It's a bacteria fermentation that happens when you eat something and it stays in your gut for a long time. And then you're eating something else on top of that, and nothing gets to digest from the beginning. And timing is everything. So people have really felt like, wow, I'm eating something that I can eat, but I'm also alkalining at the same time. I'm doing my job. I can eat anything I want, but I'm keeping it clean by alkalining. And that's what it's all about. And if you're going to do that and you become a chef out there, you're going to have the biggest lineup, because people want the taste and also feeling good. And all of that. So yeah.
Next question. This is a really interesting question, because I was thinking the same thing. Do you always put a little pan into a big pan when you're putting the balls on, and are they both pans oiled?
Oh no, this is a pre-panned oil. So I just used basically a regular. It's very kind of, it's been used a lot. So you can I love using a brush, and I can just using just a kitchen brush that you brush with oil, and just brush that coconut oil on top of the cookie sheet, and then put the rice ball on it and bake that, so it doesn't get stick to the cookie sheet if it doesn't have any oil. Much easier and better to use that than parchment paper, because parchment paper kind of doesn't do so much of the crispiness. It's more of the baking sheet with the oil. Mm-hmm. Well, you can try it, but yeah.
And then can you or do you include peat scraps in the stock?
Say that again.
Can you or do you include peat scraps in the stock?
Peas?
Peat, P-E-A-T.
P-E-A-T. What's peats?
Actually, we're gonna need help in the chat, because I don't know what that is either.
As long as it's
we're all working together here.
Yeah, maybe something else. I won't put peppers, if anything, with P in it. Peppers, no, because you gotta think of something thick, something big that gives you flavors, but not something that will be, because you're boiling it down. You don't want it to have a different type of taste you don't want anything like a strong taste.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and then this is a really interesting question. Sure. I'm gluten-free, dairy intolerant, and can't eat onion or garlic. How dangerous will it be to do substitutions using celery instead of onion, using gluten-free bread crumbles, and using oat milk? Also, can you use a rice cooker for the recipe?
You know what? Okay, that's a great question. I don't know if I would use the rice cooker, because it's something that you do need to. I think a rice cooker, what it does is mostly fluff or cooks it and you leave it alone. In this kind of case, it's great to do it on the stove, because you're adding the stock, and then you're also making sure that the rice is covered and sauteed with it, that you're obviously mixing it together. Where a rice cooker, I don't know, you got to try it, but a rice cooker looks like you just set it and forget it. I definitely believe, like, instead of salt, instead of onions or garlic, if you're sensitive to that with digestion, because it is very sensitive, it's heavy on it, is just because of the sulfur. It's great to use celery seeds. Yes, celery seeds or celery that enhances flavors. Anything that enhances flavors, even salt-free. There's such things now as herbs, dried herbs, salt-free dried herbs that has all these wonderful aromas that you can do instead of onions and garlic. Definitely. Yeah.
Sounds good. And then for your stock, do you cook the stock frozen or defrost the vegetables before you cook them?
Oh no, you don't have to defrost anything. It's so simple. Once
Take
you
them out of
just
the bag and
put it in the bag, in the freezer. When the bag is full and you need stock, you just kind of just use it frozen, because it will just, the water will boil it down. The water does it all. I wish I showed you how. I mean, it's really easy. You know, you're just taking the bag of all your scraps and you're just putting it in the pot and then just adding the water. But I mean, the color is what comes out really beautiful, just like if it was in the store. Yeah, so try it. You know, get all your scraps together, put it in a bag, put it in the freezer, and when it's full, just add water and cover it and let it boil until it boils, and simmer it for half an hour, 45 minutes.
if it's the color of the sunset, then it's right.
Yes, exactly.
So we'll do a few more questions because we're already at time, and we've
Oh,
got a
okay.
bunch of questions, but I don't think we have time to cover them all. For coconut oil, do you use extra virgin cold press? And then how expensive is it compared to coconut oil or avocado oil? And does Costco carry quality ones?
Okay, well, I buy my coconut oil from Costco. Sometimes, you know, as chefs, and we're doing a lot of food out there, you do need to buy things in bulk. So you do get a really big container for not so expensive, and it's virgin coconut oil. The more virgin that you go, extra virgin, extra virgin, then it becomes more expensive. Obviously, Costco doesn't have that. But if you go to a natural food stores, and if you buy the highest quality of raw, extra virgin coconut oil, then you don't want to cook that so much. You want to enjoy that in your smoothies or anything that's or you can melt it, let it melt, I guess, a little bit in the sun. And then you can drizzle that on your food at the end, because it has a really high triglycerides, MCT, which helps your brain with hunger, energy, and just boost your metabolism as well. There's a lot of great benefits about coconut oil. So I cook with all my cooking is with virgin coconut oil that I buy from Costco. It's a big container for 15, 20 bucks. And it lasts you for so long. And if it's at the store, just look for, I will not use refined coconut oil, just use virgin. The best is virgin, and then extra virgin is your second best. But virgin is fine too, because it does do the job. It all has the MCT triglycerides that you need, that you want.
Sounds good. I have a general question about plant-based diets. Where do you get your proteins with a plant-based diet? And then another question also, doesn't coconut oil contain a lot of saturated fat?
Yes. Okay. There's a difference between, okay, there's great two questions. I'll go with the coconut oil since we're on that subject. The saturated fat is important. It's okay with the coconut oil. I know it's so high and it blows people's minds away, like, whoa, that's very high. But it's a different type of saturated fat. It's a type of fat that, because of everything is all about balance, meaning that if there's minerals and benefits in oil or in sugar, like maple syrup, that means it's balanced. It balances its nutrition elements in your body, that it does something. So it's not going to be a huge spike with sugars. But with coconut oil, it's not like a huge amount of saturated fat that goes into your body and stays there. It's a type of saturated fat that digests and clears away and helps to renew your skin, your collagen, and everything else internally and externally. That's why we put coconut oil all over us if we feel we have dry skin. It's a safe oil to go to. So the saturated fat that you look at can scare you, but don't let it scare you, because it is a healthy saturated fat of the coconut oil. It's from the fruit that rejuvenates your skin, your internal, your body, your digestion, and does your connection to the brain and many other benefits that balances of a good fat overall. So it's okay. But if you have refined oils, that is saturated fat, then it's not good, because that there's no balance of any minerals that does at your body anything. So it's just refined. So that's just my own opinion about that saturated fat with coconut oil. So it's a good one, and most nutritionists that I've researched and worked with from my school has said even that it's a healthy fat to use as an oil alternative to any other refined oils. With protein, so plant-based protein, you get so much protein and fiber and minerals from all your legumes, your grain, your beans, your lentils, your chickpeas, etc. And also there's lots of protein in broccoli, cauliflower, even greens like lettuces, kale has a lot of protein that we don't even know. And you can also get a lot of protein from ancient grains. So there's ancient grains, like instead of me eating rice, I don't eat so much rice, but if I go to any grains, I go to buckwheat, I do farro, quinoa, millet, amaranth. All of those ancient grains has wonderful protein as well as fiber and iron. And those are essentials for our body to move, to boost, and to make you feel balanced with hunger. So as being plant-based, I definitely feel like when I need that protein, black beans are around. I make sure I soak them before I cook them. I create so many different ways now that you have many recipes compared to if it's a regular burger, to a plant-based burger made with chickpeas or lentils or even black beans. So yeah, you can definitely create so many wonderful things with plant-based protein.
Sounds good. And then what is the purpose of using nutritional yeast in this recipe?
It's just to flavor up. Nutritional yeast has a very big benefit of B vitamins, B complex, B6 and B12. And it just has that huge benefits of it. So the more that you put that, the more you're going to enjoy that. And it's also a great alternative to cheese. I don't eat dairy. So, and I feel so good not eating dairy. My digestion is healthier. I don't feel bloated. And also I don't feel the cellulite really because dairy does that, right? It's refined with its saturated fat from the animal. But having nutritional yeast is a great flavor that I just put that in everything, on my pasta, my rice dishes, my vegetables with coconut oil, if you like, and a little bit of sea salt. It just gives you that yumminess that you want, that you're looking for from cheese, that nutritional yeast has, with the benefits of B vitamins.
All right. I think we're at time. I'm sorry.
Okay.
We do have other questions, but you've answered so many questions already, and
Right.
we've reached this moment. So we will be sending out the recipe by email. And before we finish, Hagit, can you tell us how we can get your book, and then what your website is?
Sure.
Give us a way to get in touch with you.
Yeah, so at the end of the recipe, I've posted where you can look at me on Facebook or Instagram. Just add me. You can message me there, all your questions, if we haven't finished it right now. I know there's a lot of information with nutrition because we do want to clean our gut. And as well as email me with my first name, my last name. You'll see it, Eat with Hagit, but Hagit Ammer at gmail.com. I'm sure Oleg can write that down. Hagit Ammer at gmail.com. You can email me there. If you're interested in that book, just send me a message or follow me and just say you would like that, and I can send you USB if you want, any files online, or invite you to my private group on Facebook, and you have all those recipes as long as Facebook is alive, or as much as if you need it, then I'll send it to you and you have a whole file of them. It's wonderful. Yeah. So thank you so much. I really appreciate that everybody got to join me today. I'm very happy that I get to do this at the LA County Library. I've done this before at Topanga Library when I lived in Topanga Canyon. And I'm really happy to work with you, Oleg. You've been such a great champ, and everyone else that you brought here to talk about how wonderful you can create and stuff your own wonderful magic rice balls.
I want one of those right now.
Thank
you so much, Hagit. I absolutely will make them. So thank you very much, Hagit. For all the folks out there, so much appreciate you all joining us this morning and afternoon. And if you'd like to hear more about virtual events from the library, follow us at LA County Library on all popular social media, or go to our website to click events on the right-hand side, and you get a listing of all the events that we have. And there's so much good stuff out there. Hagit, Always a pleasure. And to
Always.
everybody, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Bye-bye. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you so much.